Professor Margaret Collins stopped beside Ryan Callahan's drafting table and looked down at the attendance tablet in her hand. Mr. Callahan, that is your third violation. The architecture studio at Hawthorne University became so quiet that Ryan could hear the ventilation system humming above the rows of desks. 20 graduate students turned toward him. 6 weeks earlier, that would have bothered Ryan more than he would ever admit. At 23, he had built his reputation on being the alpha who never missed a deadline, never arrived late, never challenged a professor without evidence, and never gave anyone a reason to question his discipline. Rules were useful. Rules made outcomes predictable. Yet now Professor Collins was waiting for an explanation. Ryan's presentation materials were sitting unfinished on his desk, and Noah Bennett was beside him staring as though Ryan had suddenly become someone else. I understand, Ryan said. Professor Collins raised an eyebrow. Do you? Yes, Professor. You left a graded rehearsal without permission. Your team lost participation credit because of it. Ryan nodded. I know. Noah shifted in seat 27. His voice was barely above a whisper. Ryan, you should explain. Ryan glanced at him. Noah's light brown hair was still slightly disordered from the cold wind outside, and there was exhaustion behind his green eyes. 30 minutes earlier, Noah had been alone in a stairwell trying to convince Ryan to return to the rehearsal without him. Ryan had known exactly what leaving would cost. He had left anyway. Professor Collins studied him for another moment. We will discuss this after class. Yes, Professor. She returned to the front of the room. Conversations slowly resumed, but Noah did not look away. Why do you keep doing this? He whispered. Doing what? Breaking rules because of me. Ryan almost smiled. You really have not figured it out? Noah's expression changed, confusion giving way to something more uncertain. Before he could answer, Professor Collins called the room back to attention. Ryan faced forward, but his awareness remained fixed on the man sitting less than 3 feet away. The strange part was that 6 weeks earlier, Ryan had not even known Noah's coffee order. He had not known Noah stayed in the studio until midnight when he was worried about a model. He had not known Noah tapped a pencil twice against the table whenever he found a flaw in a design. He had certainly never imagined risking academic credit simply because Noah needed someone to sit beside him in a quiet stairwell. 6 weeks earlier, there had only been seat 28. It was the first Monday of the fall graduate studio, and Professor Collins stood before the class holding a box filled with numbered cards. Your semester project will be completed in pairs, she announced. A collective groan moved through the room. Ryan remained expressionless, although internally he agreed with it. He preferred working alone. His methods were efficient, his schedule was precise, and collaboration usually meant spending half his time correcting someone else's decisions. Professor Collins continued. Partners will be determined by seating assignments. Once assigned, you may not switch partners. Ryan immediately disliked the rule. He reached into the box when it came to him and pulled out 28. His assigned desk was near the tall east windows. Seat 27 was already occupied. Noah Bennett sat there arranging pencils beside a sketchbook. Ryan recognized him vaguely from orientation. 22, Omega, quiet, apparently talented, although Ryan had never seen enough of his work to form an opinion. Noah glanced at Ryan's card. 28. Unfortunately. Noah looked amused. Good start. Ryan placed his portfolio on the desk. I prefer individual projects. I prefer partners who pretend they are happy to see me for at least 5 minutes. Ryan looked at him. Would 3 minutes be acceptable? Noah smiled. We can negotiate. Professor Collins distributed the project brief. Each pair had to design a mixed-use residential complex for a redevelopment site near downtown. Ryan immediately opened his preliminary sketches. He had already studied the site before class. Noah leaned slightly closer. You already designed something? A concept. Noah examined the clean geometric towers, elevated walkways, and carefully calculated public spaces. It is beautiful. Ryan paused. Compliments were familiar. Thank you. Noah tapped his pencil twice against the table. Nobody would want to live in it. Ryan slowly turned toward him. Excuse me. Noah pointed at the central courtyard. There is nowhere people would actually stay. Everything moves them from one place to another. The benches face circulation paths. The apartments overlook concrete. Even your green space feels like something people are supposed to admire while walking past it. Ryan stared at the drawing, then at Noah. No classmate had ever criticized his work within 5 minutes of meeting him. More surprisingly, Ryan was not offended. What would you change? Noah blinked. You want my opinion? You clearly have one. Noah pulled the sketch closer and began explaining. Ryan listened. 10 minutes later, he crossed out the courtyard he had spent 3 hours designing. It was the first rule he broke for Noah Bennett, although at the time Ryan did not recognize it as anything important. He only knew that when Professor Collins announced the end of class, everyone else packed their bags while Ryan remained in seat 28, listening to Noah describe how a building could make strangers feel less alone. And for the first time in years, Ryan was more interested in the person beside him than in being right. During the next week, Ryan discovered that Noah did not criticize designs for the pleasure of disagreeing. He noticed things other people ignored. Where Ryan saw efficient circulation, Noah saw whether an exhausted resident carrying groceries would have somewhere comfortable to stop. Where Ryan calculated sunlight exposure, Noah asked what the morning light would feel like inside a kitchen. Their approaches should have competed. Instead, the project became better whenever they combined them. On Wednesday afternoon, Ryan arrived at the studio with revised plans for the central courtyard. Noah studied them silently, tapping his pencil twice against the desk. Ryan had already learned what that meant. What is wrong? Noah looked up. Nothing. You tapped the pencil. I do that. All the time. Twice means you found a problem. Noah stared at him. We have known each other for 9 days. That does not make me wrong. A smile appeared at the corner of Noah's mouth. The seating area? Ryan turned the drawing toward him. What about it? Noah pointed to the southern edge. You fixed the view, but there is still no reason for anyone to stay after sunset. There are lights. Lights are not a reason. Ryan leaned back. What is? Noah pulled out tracing paper and sketched over the plan. He added a sheltered community table, a small garden, and a covered space where residents could gather when the weather changed. People need places that make staying feel natural. Ryan watched his hand move across the paper. You think about that a lot. About what? Why people stay? Noah's pencil stopped. For the first time, his easy confidence disappeared. Maybe. Ryan sensed a boundary and did not push. Instead, he studied the sketch. Keep it. Noah looked surprised. You want to use this? It solves the problem. You spend hours on your version. And yours is better. Noah narrowed his eyes. Are you feeling okay? Why does everyone assume something is wrong when I change my mind? Because I heard you argue with Professor Daniels for 40 minutes over a stairwell measurement. I was correct. There he is. Ryan laughed before he could stop himself. Across the room, 2 students looked over, apparently surprised to hear the sound. Ryan ignored them. That evening, Noah packed his bag at 7:30. I have a seminar across campus. Ryan glanced at the clock. Urban sociology? Noah paused. How do you know my schedule? Ryan realized he had answered too quickly. You mentioned it. Once. I remember things. Noah lifted an eyebrow, but smiled. Apparently. After Noah left, Ryan tried to work. The studio felt strangely different. Seat 27 was empty, a mechanical pencil resting beside Noah's closed sketchbook. Ryan spent 20 minutes adjusting window dimensions before realizing he had checked the door 4 times. At 8:15, Noah returned. Seminar ended early. Ryan looked at him. You came back. My sketchbook is. Here. Noah picked it up, then noticed Ryan's screen. You changed the courtyard again. Your community table needed better access from the residential wing. Noah stepped closer. That actually works. I know. There he is. Ryan smiled. Noah should have left. Instead, he put his bag back down and sat in seat 27. Give me 10 minutes. For what? Your landscaping is terrible. My landscaping is technically efficient. That sentence proves my point. 10 minutes became 40. 40 became nearly 2 hours. By the time the studio emptied, rain was streaking the east windows and the campus paths below reflected the yellow glow of streetlights. Noah rubbed his eyes and looked at the clock. It is almost 10. Ryan saved the project. We should stop. Noah gathered his papers. You usually stay this late? Sometimes. Because of the project? Ryan looked at him. The honest answer had become unexpectedly complicated. Tonight, yes. They walked downstairs together and stopped beneath the entrance awning. Noah opened his umbrella. See you Friday, seat 28. Ryan glanced at him. That is what you are calling me now. Until you develop a personality. Ryan watched Noah disappear along the wet sidewalk. then realized he was smiling alone. The next morning, Ryan opened the registration portal for an elective he had already chosen. Noah had mentioned taking environmental design on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Ryan stared at his existing schedule for several seconds. Changing it would make his week less efficient. He changed it anyway. Ryan told himself the schedule change was practical until Tuesday morning, when he walked into environmental design and saw Noah sitting near the middle of the lecture hall. Noah looked from Ryan to the empty seat beside him, then back at Ryan. "You are in this class." "Apparently. You told me you were taking advanced structures." Ryan placed his notebook on the desk beside Noah. "I changed electives." "Why?" "This one supports our project better." Noah considered that explanation. "You rearranged your schedule for one studio project?" "I am committed." Noah smiled. "That is one word for it." Ryan sat down before Noah could ask anything else. The truth was less defensible. Environmental design met 3 hours every week, and Ryan had discovered that 3 additional hours beside Noah seemed worth making his schedule inconvenient. After class, they walked back toward the architecture building while Noah complained about the professor assigning 80 pages of reading before Thursday. Ryan listened with unusual patience. By the 3rd week of the semester, their routine had become almost automatic. Ryan arrived first most mornings and placed his portfolio on seat 28 while leaving seat 27 untouched. Other students occasionally tried to use it. Ryan always found a reason they could not. Noah noticed on a Friday when he entered carrying 2 foam boards and found Evan Mercer standing beside his chair. "Callahan says this seat is reserved," Evan said. Noah looked at Ryan. "Reserved?" Ryan kept his attention on his laptop. "We have project materials organized around those desks." Evan glanced at the completely empty surface. "Right. Project materials." He walked away smiling. Noah sat down. "You know I do not own this chair. Professor Collins assigned it to you. For studio sessions. Not every hour the building is open." Ryan finally looked at him. "Do you want another seat?" Noah hesitated. "No." "Then I fail to see the problem." Noah laughed softly and opened his sketchbook. That evening, they stayed to build the first physical model of their residential complex. Ryan had planned to leave at 8. At 7:55, he packed his laptop. Noah was still cutting pieces of white modeling board. "You staying?" Ryan asked. "Probably another hour. That model can wait until tomorrow." "I know." Noah examined an uneven edge and sighed. "I just want to finish this section." Ryan looked at the clock, then at his bag. One of his personal rules had survived graduate school precisely because it was useful. Never stay late because somebody else failed to manage his time. At 8, Ryan sat back down. Noah glanced over. "I thought you were leaving." "I was." "What happened?" Ryan opened his laptop again. "I remembered something I need to finish." Noah looked suspicious but returned to the model. At 9:15, Ryan had finished everything he genuinely needed to do. Noah was still working. Ryan stayed. At 10, Noah stood and stretched. "You have been reading the same page for 15 minutes. It is complicated. It is the university parking policy." Ryan looked at his screen and realized Noah was right. Extremely complicated. Noah laughed, and Ryan decided the embarrassment was worth it. They finally left shortly before midnight. The following week, Ryan arrived one evening, carrying 2 coffees. He placed one beside Noah without comment. Noah looked at the cup. "What is this?" "Coffee." I identified the species. Noah lifted it. "Why is it exactly how I order it?" "Oat milk, 1 shot of vanilla, no whipped cream." Noah stared at him. "That is concerning. You order the same thing every time. You pay attention every time." Ryan paused. "Apparently." Noah's expression softened before he looked away. Their late nights continued. Some were filled with arguments about windows and landscaping. Others became quieter. One Thursday, Ryan looked over and found Noah asleep with his head resting on his folded arms beside the unfinished model. Ryan checked the time. 11:23. He almost woke him, then stopped. Without Noah talking, the studio seemed larger and strangely empty even though he was only 2 feet away. Ryan lowered the brightness on his laptop and continued working in silence. 10 minutes later, Noah opened his eyes. "Did I fall asleep?" "No. You were intensely examining the table." Noah sat upright and smiled sleepily. "You could have woken me. You looked tired. And you stayed." Ryan glanced at him. "I was already here." Noah accepted the answer, but Ryan no longer did. He had changed a design he once considered finished. He had rearranged his schedule. He guarded an empty chair as though it mattered. He stayed hours beyond his own work and remembered a coffee order he had never consciously tried to memorize. Ryan had spent years believing discipline meant knowing exactly why he made every decision. Sitting beside Noah in the nearly empty studio, he finally admitted there was one decision he could no longer explain away. He was not staying because of the project. He was staying because Noah was still there. By the fourth week of the semester, Ryan no longer bothered pretending his new routine was accidental. He still arrived at the architecture studio before most of the class, but now he carried 2 coffees instead of 1. He placed Noah's beside seat 27 before opening his laptop at seat 28. On Monday, Noah arrived wearing a charcoal coat and stopped when he saw the cup. Again, you drink coffee every morning. That does not mean you have to buy it. I was already there. Noah picked up the cup and inspected the label. Oat milk, 1 shot of vanilla, no whipped cream. Correct. You know my order better than the barista. Ryan looked at his screen. The barista has more customers. Noah sat down, smiling. That might be the most romantic thing anyone has ever said to me. Ryan's hand stopped over the keyboard. Noah laughed. Relax, Callahan. I am joking. Ryan managed a faint smile, although the word romantic stayed with him much longer than the joke. Their project had reached the stage where Professor Collins expected teams to work independently outside scheduled studio hours. Ryan normally would have created a strict division of responsibilities. Instead, he found reasons for them to work together. Noah handled community spaces, but Ryan asked him to review apartment layouts. Ryan developed structural concepts, then invited Noah to challenge them. They could have completed half those tasks separately. Neither suggested it. Tuesday evening, Ryan finished his work at 8:12. Noah was building balcony sections for the model. You can go, Noah said without looking up. I know. Ryan remained seated. 10 minutes passed. Noah glanced at him. You are done. I might revise the elevations. You revised them yesterday. They can be improved. Noah set down his knife and looked directly at him. Why are you still here? Ryan could have invented another explanation. Instead, he answered, you are still here. Noah's expression changed. The teasing disappeared, replaced by a quiet uncertainty Ryan could not read. That is not a reason. It is tonight. Neither spoke for several seconds. Then Noah looked back at the model. You are strange. I have been called worse. Not by me. Ryan smiled and reopened the elevations he had no intention of changing. On Thursday, Noah discovered another coincidence. They walked into environmental design together and found only 1 open pair of seats near the back. Noah sat first. You know, he said as Ryan took the chair beside him. I checked the course roster. Ryan immediately knew where this was going. That sounds unnecessary. You registered 2 days after studio started. Registration was still open. Advanced structures fits your research concentration better. Environmental design supports our project. Noah leaned closer, lowering his voice as the professor entered. Did you switch classes because I was taking this one? That would be inefficient. That was not an answer. Ryan opened his notebook. Class is starting. Noah watched him for another second. Coward. Ryan almost laughed. After class, they crossed the quad beneath a bright October sky. Noah continued talking about the assignment while Ryan listened, but something had shifted. Noah had begun noticing. Ryan should have been more careful. Instead, part of him was relieved. Friday brought another small test. Ryan arrived at the studio to find Evan Mercer sitting in seat 27 while discussing a project with another student. Ryan stopped beside the desk. That seat is taken. Evan looked around. By who? Noah. He is not here. He will be. Evan smiled knowingly. You guard Bennett's chair better than your own work. My work does not wander away. Evan laughed and moved to another desk. 10 minutes later, Noah entered carrying a cardboard model box. He noticed the empty seat waiting beside Ryan. Did you save this again? It is your assigned seat. Evan told me you evicted him. Evicted is dramatic. Noah set down the box. You could let someone else sit here when I am gone. Ryan met his eyes. I could. Noah waited. But you do not. No. The answer came too easily. Noah sat down without another joke. Later that evening, they walked to the campus coffee shop before it closed. Noah insisted on paying because Ryan had bought too many coffees that week. They carried their cups outside and sat on a low brick wall overlooking the quad. Students crossed beneath strings of lights left from a campus event. Noah was unusually quiet. What are you thinking about? Ryan asked. You. Ryan turned toward him. Noah immediately added. More specifically, why you are being so nice to me. Do I need a reason? People usually have one. Maybe I like working with you. Noah looked down at his coffee. You like winning. I am useful to the project. Ryan heard something underneath the words. You think that is all this is? Noah shrugged. You are Ryan Callahan. You plan everything. You do not do things without a purpose. Ryan could have corrected him then. He could have said that the purpose had stopped being architecture weeks ago. Instead, uncertainty held him back. Maybe you do not know me as well as you think. Noah gave him a small smile. Maybe not. On the walk back to the studio, Ryan realized Noah had noticed every exception but misunderstood every reason. The coffees, the empty chair, the changed elective, the late nights had become evidence of strategy instead of affection. Ryan had spent weeks breaking his own rules to stay close to Noah, and somehow the one thing he had failed to do was make Noah understand why. The rehearsal began at 4:30 on Friday afternoon, and by 5:15 Noah had stopped making jokes. Ryan noticed because Noah always joked when he was nervous. Professor Collins had arranged the studio like the final review, with presentation boards mounted along the north wall and 3 faculty members seated behind a long table. Each team had 12 minutes to explain its project, followed by questions. Ryan and Noah were scheduled fourth. Noah stood beside seat 27, reviewing his notes for the 3rd time. You know this material, Ryan said. Knowing it and explaining it while 3 professors stare at me are different skills. Then look at me. Noah glanced up. What? During the presentation. If you lose your place, look at me. Noah smiled faintly. That sounds suspiciously supportive. Do not tell anyone. Their turn began well. Ryan introduced the structural concept. Then Noah explained how the courtyard and shared spaces encouraged residents to remain in the community instead of simply moving through it. His voice steadied as he spoke. Ryan watched the faculty members take notes and knew Noah was doing exactly what he had always been capable of doing. Then the questions started. Professor Collins asked about accessibility. Another professor questioned maintenance costs. Noah answered both. From the side of the room, Evan Mercer raised his hand. Students were allowed to participate during rehearsals, although Ryan immediately disliked the expression on Evan's face. I have a question about authorship, Evan said. Professor Collins looked at him. Be specific. Evan gestured toward the presentation boards. Ryan's technical work is obviously strong. I am wondering how responsibilities are divided. From the outside, it sometimes looks like Ryan is carrying most of the project. The room became uncomfortable. Ryan turned toward Noah. Noah's face had gone still. That is incorrect, Ryan said. Evan shrugged. I am asking. Then I answered. Professor Collins intervened. Mr. Mercer, questions should address the design. Understood. The rehearsal continued, but Noah missed his next sentence. Ryan quietly supplied the first few words, and Noah recovered. When they finished, Professor Collins asked them to remain for feedback. Noah nodded, gathered his notes, and walked toward the hallway. I will be right back, he said. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Professor Collins began discussing another team's presentation. Ryan checked the door again. Noah had not returned. He sent a message asking if Noah was all right. No response. At 20 minutes, Ryan stood. Professor Collins looked over. Mr. Callahan, sit down. Your team feedback begins shortly. Ryan hesitated. Attendance through the entire rehearsal counted toward their participation grade. Leaving without permission was explicitly prohibited. Noah has been gone for 20 minutes. Mr. Bennett is an adult. He can return when he is ready. Ryan looked toward the hallway. Every rational part of him knew Professor Collins was right. Noah had not asked Ryan to follow him. Their project was safe. Their grade mattered. Ryan sat down. He lasted less than a minute. Then he stood again, picked up his phone, and walked out. He checked the student lounge first, then the lobby and the quiet corridor behind the fabrication lab. Finally, he opened the stairwell door on the 3rd floor. Noah was sitting on the landing with his back against the wall, staring at the window across from him. Ryan stopped several feet away. There you are. Noah looked up. Why are you here? You disappeared. I needed a minute. You took 23. Noah almost smiled, but it vanished quickly. Go back, Ryan. Not yet. Professor Collins is going to mark you down. Probably. Noah stared at him. Then go. Ryan sat on the opposite side of the landing, leaving several feet between them. I am fine here. You are unbelievable. I have heard that recently. Noah looked toward the window again. Evan was not completely wrong. Yes, he was. You are better than me at this. At some things. At most things. Noah, everyone knows who you are. Professors know your work before you walk into the room. You have internships calling you. I am the person sitting beside Ryan Callahan. Ryan felt something tighten in his chest. Is that what you think? Noah gave a tired laugh. Sometimes I wonder if I got lucky with the seating assignment, and I am just making the most of it. You redesigned the courtyard. After you already had a design. Mine was worse. You do not have to say that. I do when it is true. Noah finally looked at him. Ryan continued, quieter now. The community table was yours. The garden was yours. The residential circulation changed because you saw a problem I missed. Half the reason our project feels like somewhere people could actually live is because you keep asking questions I would never think to ask. Noah said nothing. Evan sees drawings, Ryan continued. I see who made them better. Noah looked down at his hands. You should still go back. I know. You could lose participation credit. I know. Then why are you still sitting here? Ryan held his gaze. For weeks, he had hidden behind practical explanations, project deadlines, coffee runs, and convenient schedules. None of them worked anymore. Because you are here. Noah became completely still. The stairwell was quiet except for distant voices behind the door. Ryan did not move closer. He did not ask Noah to explain anything else. He simply stayed where he was. After a long moment, Noah leaned his head back against the wall and let out a slow breath. 5 minutes, he said. Ryan nodded. Take 10. When they finally returned to the studio together, Professor Collins was waiting beside their desks. Her expression told Ryan exactly what was coming. Noah whispered, You are in trouble. Ryan looked at seat 27, then at Noah. For once, the consequence felt remarkably simple. Professor Collins did not raise her voice when Ryan and Noah returned to the studio, which somehow made the situation feel more serious. She waited until they reached seats 27 and 28 before setting her tablet on Ryan's desk. Mr. Callahan, you were specifically instructed to remain for feedback. Yes, Professor. And you left anyway. Yes. Noah stepped forward. Professor Collins, he left because of me. Ryan immediately looked at him. Noah, it is true. Professor Collins folded her arms. Mr. Bennett, unless Mr. Callahan physically lost the ability to make his own decisions, the responsibility remains his. Noah fell silent. Ryan almost smiled at the accuracy of that statement. Professor Collins continued. Your team will lose participation credit for today's rehearsal, and Mr. Callahan, this is the third time this semester you have ignored a course expectation. Ryan knew the other two incidents were minor, one involving an unauthorized schedule adjustment for studio access, and another involving project materials left overnight in a restricted workspace. But 3 violations were still 3 violations. I understand. Professor Collins studied him. That concerns me more than an argument would. She picked up her tablet. We will discuss it Monday. When she walked away, Noah stared at Ryan. You just accepted that. What? Would arguing change? You care about grades more than anyone I know. I care about accurate grades. I earned that deduction. Noah shook his head. Because you came looking for me. Ryan closed his laptop. We already discussed this. No, you said you stayed because I was there. That is not discussing anything. Around them, students packed presentation boards and left for the evening. Within 15 minutes, the studio was nearly empty. Noah remained standing beside his chair. Ryan, why? Ryan knew exactly what Noah was asking, but answering honestly still felt more difficult than defending a design before an entire faculty panel. You were upset. People get upset. You do not abandon graded rehearsals every time it happens. No. Then why me? Ryan looked toward the tall east windows. Darkness had settled over campus, and the glass reflected the studio back at them. 2 figures surrounded by empty desks. Because I knew what Evan said bothered you. That still does not explain why you risked your grade. Maybe the grade mattered less. Noah stared at him. To you? Apparently. A quiet laugh escaped Noah, but there was no humor in it. You keep saying things like that. Like what? Things that sound like they mean something, and then you hide behind one word. Ryan leaned against the desk. What do you want me to say? Noah hesitated. I do not know. That answer changed the tension between them. Ryan realized Noah was not demanding a confession. He was trying to understand something he did not trust himself to believe. Noah looked down at the model. Evan was not the first person to make me feel like I was standing beside someone better. Ryan waited. Noah continued slowly. My older brother was the person everyone remembered growing up. Better grades, better athlete, better at talking to people. Teachers would hear my last name and ask if I was his brother. I got used to being the second Bennett. Ryan said nothing, giving him room to continue. Then I came here, and I thought graduate school would be different. And somehow I ended up beside you. That sounds unfortunate. Noah smiled despite himself. You know what I mean. I do. Ryan pulled out seat 28 and sat down. After a moment, Noah sat in 27. Ryan turned slightly toward him. You are not beside me because you got lucky. Noah looked skeptical. Professor Collins literally assigned the seats randomly. The seats were luck. Everything after that was not. Noah's expression softened. Ryan continued. I changed my courtyard because your design was better. I ask your opinion because you see things I miss. I stay late because working with you stopped feeling like work somewhere around the second week. Noah's eyes remained on him. Ryan could feel his carefully constructed explanations disappearing one by one. An environmental design? Noah asked quietly. Ryan sighed. You are not going to let that go. Not a chance. I changed electives because you were taking it. Noah blinked. Seriously? 3 extra hours a week seemed useful. Useful for the project? Ryan held his gaze. That was what I told myself. Neither of them looked away. The studio suddenly felt smaller, the distance between their chairs more noticeable than it had ever been. Noah's voice dropped. And the coffee? I know what you like. The chair? I like knowing you are going to sit there. Noah swallowed, then looked toward the windows as though he needed somewhere else to focus. Ryan did not move closer. He had already learned that some moments became more honest when nobody rushed them. Finally, Noah asked, when did all of this happen? Ryan considered the question. I am not sure. That is very unlike you. I know. Noah smiled. You usually have everything planned. That is becoming less true around you. For several seconds, Noah said nothing. Then he reached for his coffee cup from earlier, realized it was empty, and laughed softly at himself. I still think you should have gone back to rehearsal. I know. And I do not need you rescuing me. I know that too. Noah turned toward him. Then what were you doing? Ryan answered without searching for a safer explanation. Making sure you were not alone. Noah's expression changed again, quieter and warmer this time. He looked down at the narrow space between their chairs, then moved seat 27 a few inches closer to seat 28. It was such a small movement that Ryan might once have dismissed it as meaningless. He did not anymore. By Monday morning, the space between seats 27 and 28 had returned to its usual width, but nothing else felt quite the same. Noah arrived with 2 coffees and placed one beside Ryan's laptop. Ryan looked at the cup, then at him. What is this? Coffee. I identified the species. Noah smiled. Now you know how annoying that answer is. Ryan checked the label. Black coffee with a small splash of cream. Exactly right. You remembered. Apparently, I pay attention too. Before Ryan could respond, Professor Collins entered carrying a stack of folders. After discussing final presentation requirements, she placed one folder on every project table. Hawthorne has received nominations for the Morrison Fellowship, she announced. The room immediately quieted. Everyone knew the program. The fellowship offered a paid summer placement with Morrison Urban Design in Chicago, professional mentorship, and the kind of experience that could change the beginning of an architecture career. Professor Collins continued. Because this studio emphasizes collaborative design, each project team may nominate only one member. Your nomination forms are due Friday. Noah looked at Ryan almost immediately. Well, congratulations. Ryan frowned. For what? You know you are getting our nomination. Do I? Ryan. Noah lowered his voice. You have wanted Morrison since before this semester started. That was true. Ryan had attended a Morrison lecture the previous spring, studied the firm's portfolio, and built part of his academic plan around becoming a competitive applicant. 6 weeks earlier, the decision would have taken him less than 10 seconds. Now he looked at Noah and remembered the courtyard that had become the heart of their project, the community spaces Noah had imagined, and the questions that had changed how Ryan thought about buildings. We have until Friday, Ryan said. Noah laughed. There is nothing to discuss. But Ryan spent the next 3 days discussing it with himself. On Thursday evening, after Noah left for a meeting, Ryan opened the nomination form. He read the criteria twice: design judgment, community-centered thinking, collaborative leadership, potential for professional growth. Every category brought him back to Noah. Ryan filled in Noah Bennett's name and submitted the form before he could turn the decision into another calculation. Friday afternoon, Professor Collins approached their table. "Mr. Bennett, I received your team's Morrison nomination. Your portfolio supplement is due next Wednesday." Noah stared at her. "My nomination?" "Yes." His eyes moved slowly toward Ryan. Professor Collins seemed to understand immediately that she had walked into something complicated. "I will let you two discuss the details." The moment she left, Noah turned to him. "What did you do?" "I submitted the form." "With my name?" "Yes." "Without asking me." Ryan heard the anger beneath Noah's controlled voice. "You said there was nothing to discuss." "Because I thought you were obviously the nominee." "I disagreed." Noah stood. "Then you should have talked to me." "Would you have agreed?" "That is not the point. You fit what Morrison is looking for. And you do not." "I did not say that." Noah shook his head. "You wanted this fellowship. I still think it is a great opportunity. Then why are you handing it to me?" Several students glanced toward them. Noah lowered his voice further. "First, you leave a graded rehearsal because I have one bad moment. Now you give up an opportunity you have been planning for since last year. Stop doing that." Ryan stood as well. "Doing what?" "Giving things up for me." "That is not what happened." "It looks exactly like what happened." "Then you are looking at it wrong." Noah gave a short, frustrated laugh. "Of course. Because Ryan Callahan always knows what everyone else should see." The words landed harder than Ryan expected. "I nominated you because you earned it. You do not get to decide what I earned by sacrificing something you wanted." "This was not a sacrifice." "How am I supposed to believe that?" Ryan stared at him. 6 weeks of small choices suddenly stood between them, each one apparently telling Noah the opposite of what Ryan had meant. "Because not everything I do for you costs me something." Noah's expression tightened. "That is easy to say when you are the one who always has more to give." He grabbed his coat from the back of seat 27. Ryan stepped around the desk, but stopped several feet away. "Noah, I need some space." Ryan immediately stayed where he was. "All right." Noah looked almost surprised that Ryan did not follow. Then he walked out of the studio. Ryan remained beside the two desks as the door closed behind him. Seat 27 was empty again, but this time Ryan did not protect it, follow Noah, or invent a reason to fix the situation immediately. Noah had asked for space, and Ryan finally understood that caring about someone also meant respecting the boundaries that were hardest to accept. He sat in seat 28 and looked at the untouched coffee Noah had brought him that morning. For the first time since they had met, Ryan realized that breaking his own rules had been easy. Explaining why he had broken them was going to require something much harder than courage. It was going to require the complete truth. Noah did not return to the studio that afternoon, and Ryan did exactly what Noah had asked him to do. Nothing. He did not send another message. He did not follow him across campus. He did not ask mutual classmates where Noah had gone. Instead, Ryan stayed at seat 28 and worked alone until the windows reflected a nearly empty room. It was harder than leaving the rehearsal had been. By Monday morning, Ryan had decided that if Noah wanted distance, he would respect it for as long as necessary. Then he entered the studio and stopped. Noah was already sitting in seat 27. There was no coffee waiting this time. His sketchbook was open, but he was not drawing. Ryan approached slowly. "Morning." Noah looked up. "Morning." Ryan sat beside him and opened his laptop. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, Noah tapped his pencil twice against the desk. Ryan turned immediately. Noah noticed. "You still know what that means. You found a problem." "I did." "With the project?" Noah shook his head. "With us." Ryan closed his laptop. Noah took a breath. "I was angry because I thought you were treating me like someone who needed help getting opportunities." "I know. And I still think you should have asked before submitting my name." "You are right." Noah seemed surprised by the immediate answer. Ryan continued. "I should have asked. Believing you deserve something does not mean I get to make the decision for you." "Thank you. But I need you to understand something else." Noah waited. Ryan looked at the familiar desks, the model between them, and the courtyard design that had started everything. "I did not nominate you because I felt sorry for you. Morrison wants someone who understands how design affects ordinary people. You changed this entire project by asking questions I never thought to ask. You earned the nomination. Noah looked down. And you wanted it. I did. Past tense. Ryan considered that. I still respect the fellowship. But wanting something does not automatically mean I am the best person for it. Noah was quiet. Ryan could have stopped there. Instead, he knew this was the moment when another careful explanation would only repeat the mistake he had been making for weeks. You asked why I changed electives. Noah looked at him again. Ryan, I told myself it helped the project. That was not the real reason. I wanted 3 more hours every week with you. Noah's lips parted slightly, but he said nothing. I stayed late because you stayed late. I bought your coffee because I liked seeing you walk in and realize I remembered. I kept people out of your chair because I wanted you sitting beside me. I left rehearsal because when you disappeared, I could not concentrate on anything else. Noah's expression had become completely still. Ryan continued before fear could turn honesty into strategy. I changed a design I thought was finished because you made it better. Somewhere after that, I started changing other things too. My schedule, my routines, the way I spend my time. At first I thought I was making exceptions. He gave a small, uncertain smile. Then there were too many exceptions. Noah looked toward the windows. You make that sound almost reasonable. It has not felt reasonable. Why not? Ryan met his eyes. Because I was falling for you before I understood that was what I was doing. The words settled between them. Noah did not answer immediately, and Ryan let the silence remain. Finally, Noah asked, were you trying to make me fall for you too? Ryan shook his head. No. I hoped you might. There is a difference. Noah's shoulders relaxed slightly. Good answer. It is the truth. Noah studied him for a long moment. I think that is what scared me. What? Part of me already believed it. Ryan stayed still. Noah continued, the coffees, the chair, environmental design. You staying when you had no reason to stay. I noticed all of it. I just kept finding explanations that felt safer. Ryan understood that better than he expected. And now, Noah looked down at the narrow gap between their desks. Now I think I need to stop pretending I did not notice. He moved his chair a few inches closer, the same small gesture he had made after the rehearsal. This time he left it there. Ryan smiled. Noah returned it. Nothing dramatic happened. Neither of them needed it to. Around them, students began arriving for class, filling the studio with voices and footsteps. Ryan opened his laptop again. Noah reached for his pencil. Their shoulders remained comfortably close. After a moment, Noah said, for the record, I am still mad about the fellowship form. Ryan nodded. Fair. And next time, you ask. I will. Noah glanced at him. There is going to be a next time? Ryan smiled. I was hoping there might be. Noah looked back at his sketchbook, unable to hide his own smile. Then keep hoping. The final presentation arrived on a clear Thursday morning in early December. Ryan entered the architecture building carrying their model in one hand and 2 coffees in the other, already reviewing the opening lines of their presentation in his head. He reached the studio 10 minutes early and stopped beside seat 28. Someone else was sitting there. A first-year graduate student had borrowed the desk to finish printing presentation notes, apparently unaware that Ryan had occupied that chair almost every day of the semester. Ryan glanced toward seat 27. It was empty. For reasons he did not want to examine before an important review, the sight bothered him more than losing his own chair. Looking for something? Noah's voice came from behind him. Ryan turned. Noah stood near the doorway holding 2 portfolio cases, amusement in his green eyes. Someone took my seat, Ryan said. Tragic. I appreciate your concern. Noah walked past him without stopping. Instead of approaching seat 27, he crossed to a small table near the east windows with 2 chairs positioned side by side. He placed his portfolio on one chair and his sketchbook on the other. Ryan watched him. What are you doing? Noah moved the sketchbook and nodded toward the empty chair. Making an adjustment. Professor Collins assigned us 27 and 28. The semester is almost over. So now you are ignoring the seating rule. Noah accepted one of the coffees from Ryan. You have broken enough rules. I thought I should contribute. Ryan laughed and sat beside him. The final review began at 9. When their names were called, they carried the model forward together. Ryan explained the structural system and redevelopment strategy. Then Noah presented the courtyard, community garden, sheltered gathering spaces, and residential details that had transformed their earliest concept. During questions, Professor Collins asked why they had abandoned the original courtyard design. Ryan could have answered. Instead, He looked at Noah. Noah understood. Because the first version moved people efficiently, he said, but it did not give them enough reasons to stay. Ryan smiled at the familiar words. The faculty panel asked several more questions, and this time Noah answered without looking at Ryan for reassurance. He did not need to. When the review ended, Professor Collins closed her notes. This project became substantially stronger over the semester. More importantly, it feels like the work of two designers who learned from each other. Outside the review room, Noah released a long breath. We survived. You were good. We were good. Ryan accepted the correction. Later that afternoon, Noah received an email confirming that Morrison had advanced his fellowship application to the final interview stage. He read it twice before showing Ryan. They want to interview me next week. Ryan smiled. I told you. Noah pointed at him. Do not ruin this moment by becoming unbearable. I was going to say you earned it. Noah lowered his hand. That is acceptable. Then his expression became more thoughtful. And if I get Chicago? You go to Chicago. That is several hundred miles from here. I own a phone. Very modern. I also understand airplanes. Noah laughed. You really have planned everything. Ryan shook his head. Not everything. They walked across campus as evening lights came on around the quad. Near the coffee shop, Noah stopped. There is something I should probably make clear. Ryan waited. Noah looked unusually nervous. You said you hoped I might fall for you. I remember. You can stop hoping. Ryan's expression changed before Noah added. Because you were not the only one paying attention. For once, Ryan had no immediate answer. Noah smiled. That might be my favorite expression on you. I am processing. Take your time. Ryan looked at him. Coffee tomorrow? Are you asking about coffee or asking me out? I am trying to follow your rule about asking before making decisions for you. Noah considered him with exaggerated seriousness. Then asked properly. Ryan smiled. Would you like to have coffee with me tomorrow, without architecture drawings, fellowship forms, or an academic reason to be there? Yes. The answer was simple enough to make Ryan wonder why he had spent so many weeks hiding behind complicated explanations. The next morning, Noah arrived first. 2 cups waited on the table near the east windows. He had chosen the same 2 chairs from presentation day rather than their assigned seats. Ryan sat beside him without mentioning the change. Outside, the first light snow of December drifted over Hawthorne University. Inside, Noah opened his sketchbook, then deliberately closed it again. No work today. Another rule? Ryan asked. A new one. I'm not very good with those anymore. Noah smiled. You will. Learn. Their future was still unfinished. Chicago might happen. Other cities might follow. Careers would demand choices neither of them could predict. But that morning required no promises about forever. There were 2 warm coffees, 2 chairs beside a window, and enough time before the next semester began. Ryan had spent months finding reasons to sit beside Noah. Now, when Noah moved his chair a little closer, Ryan understood that he no longer needed one.